Okay, YouTube, I'm going to try making a video for you guys because nowhere on YouTube could I find out how to take this marker light. Came out of my 2022 3500 Chevy Silverado, and to do a switchback conversion on it through Fastheadlights. You can get this LED marker switchback conversion chip. I've done this once, so we'll go through it again. This is the original that came out of the old one. And it's a pretty cool look when your marker lights are just white and then turn amber only when the turn signal comes on. So excuse me for my bad footage. I do not know how to edit videos. I'm not good at taking videos, but I wanted to do this video to help some other people out. Now, this does come with instructions. The instructions just show you how to wire in this chip and how to install this. If you start with the QR code that's supposed to show you a video on how to put it in, the light is already out of the mirror. And if you want to learn how to take the light out of the mirror, there are plenty of videos on that. But when he starts the video, this is already separated. It's already in two pieces. So nowhere does it show you how to open this up. On their website, it tells you that you need to use a Dremel. I know some other people on YouTube have tried putting this in a toaster oven and heating it up till the glue is loose and prying it apart. The one gentleman did crack it in the process. I have managed to cut it open with a Dremel and was successful in changing it out and siliconing it back shut. Make sure you use this Permatex RTV silicone. Other silicones will eat the plastic and change color after time. This video is long. I'm going to cut it up and make it shorter for you guys because it's noisy with the Dremel going. Also, this is not for the faint of heart. You are taking your brand new truck apart and cutting into this light. So I'm going to show you on the first one where I initially started my cut. And this is, I first scrape off this black layer with a razor blade. But right underneath where this flat part starts is where I start the incision with the Dremel. So now I'm just taking this razor blade and removing this foam layer that sits between the light and the mirror housing. It just basically keeps rattled noise down and stuff like that. I put a few dabs of silicone on the outside when I put it back in. But you'll want to remove this just because it helps to see where you're putting the Dremel blade. Also, when that Dremel blade goes in, you want to watch it and make sure that it does not pass this point. You go any further, you can mark up your chrome and inside the light. Some people choose to paint inside the light black. I chose to leave it chrome. As I cut with the Dremel, there's going to be melted plastic, so I stop quite often and take a knife or a razor blade and remove that hot plastic. I also look, examine, and insert a razor blade to know that I've gone in with the Dremel far enough. Okay, I've removed most of that foam outer layer so I can see my Dremel blade in there. Earlier, I forgot the name of this. It's a resistor. I'll do another video and show you how to wire that in, but it's pretty simple. Also, if you check out Fastheadlights, they also do quite some conversions. You can send your mirrors off and have them color painted. to match your truck. They do all kinds of cool things. Because my truck is a 2022, they do not make a light that's a switchback for it yet. Other people have ordered switchback LED lights, which then you have to do the same I'm doing here, but put that rope of LED lights in there, try to make them unseen, and learn the wiring to make them work properly. This is a way better look. I'll show you guys at night. It looks really cool. Since I'm doing this by myself, I made this little block, and I did use a speed clamp at first, which became difficult. It wanted to put too much pressure on the light. So I just use this block, and I just tape it down with some electrical tape, and that holds it while I do my cutting with my Dremel. And so I'm going to pause the video and cut in and out, because I know you don't want to see me cut with a Dremel all day on this light. My camera's not the best. Like I said, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just trying to make this video so that some people can have some answers, because I didn't. So I have a variable speed Dremel. I like to start low. You may hear it bogging out because I don't want it to cut too fast. I want to watch where I'm at. I looked for some smaller cutting wheels. This is the smallest I could find. So like I said, this isn't for the faint of heart. Once you go, you're in it. So here we go. Turn my Dremel up a little bit after I make that first pass. It gives me a nice line for the blade to lay in. Like I said, I like to be real fast to remove this melted plastic that's on there. And you'll see some fogging in there, but that's just debris. And I don't know if you can see that my knife is poking through. And you can see the initial cut. Now, I know this looks like crap. And believe me, I was a little worried when I started too. But remember, all this sits behind this housing. So you're not going to see any of it when it's done. I'm going to pause for a minute. Well, let me show you guys this first before I continue to cut with the camera off. You can see this black portion here of the housing. You're going to have to cut some of that off. Also here and around this side. When you come up to where this bracket is, of course you cannot cut the bracket off. So you have to dive in a little bit with your Dremel and cut further up here. You could cut up here the whole entire time. I didn't want to do that because I wanted 2 layers to be able to sandwich back together with the silicone. So I'm gonna cut for another minute and I'll start the video and get back with you. So here I'm going to show how I cut that plastic tab off. I'll continue my cut. Right along this flat. You can see right here that my pick is already going in. But I've been all the way through here. There are a few spots, and when I get all the way around, I will double check them as I try to carefully open it up. Patience is necessary in this. You definitely don't want to go too fast. I'm probably going a little faster than I should. I can tell you the first one I did, the driver's side, probably I took over an hour to cut that one open. Of course, because it was the first one I did. A little quicker on this one. Again, my truck is a 2022 3500 6.6 liter diesel. It is the work truck edition, but I can tell you it looks like no work truck. And maybe I'll make a video later showing you the mods I did to my truck after I purchased it. The Trail Boss and the Custom, I think, are pretty close to the work truck. They're stripped down inside. They have the, doesn't have the buttons for the radio on the or on the steering wheel and things like that. But the work truck I paid $70,000 for. The High Country and the Top Dogs are $100,000. I did get the windows tinted, put rims and tires, and some other cool features on it. And we'll go through that later. Again, now we're off to this side. I'm gonna have to cut all along this black metal to get where I want to be, because I like to cut down here where the flab is again. Oh, this is super hard to see. I'm trying to get the light. Okay, I think you guys have it there. You can see that it's now open. So I've got to the point where I need to reposition my light. Yeah, you gotta love electrical tape. Comes in great for everything. Okay, so I got a little more of that tab to cut, a little more inner, but I'm going to show you right now. I'll cut that and go in there, and then it's going to come up and over that bracket. You're just diving in until you start to see it clear and open. Don't want to go any further. melted plastic to deal with there. Let's see it open. And then we'll clean this all up. Has to be clamped for 24 hours with silicone. A little more. You can see I missed a little bit right there, but I'll come back and get those. I just have right around here to do. And always watch your angle of your blade, because it does switch. Here you're flat. Here it needs to, especially at this side, you need to come up, you know, at an angle. You don't want to dive straight in. You'll end up cutting this whole portion off. So you go up at an angle. Okay, YouTubers, I'm back. Believe it or not, I've got this one cut probably in about 15 minutes, 20 tops. So another thing is to be real careful trying to take it apart. Is any plastic that was inside can't reharden, and of course melt your lens back together. So it's real delicate just to walk around, pry just a little bit. You definitely don't want to hear stuff like that. So I am getting quite some resistance over here. So I'm going with the drum just a little bit more. You can see now that corner starting to lift. So you just want to walk this around, being real easy until I'm getting, I can actually see still some glue in there. Just ever so slightly trying to pop her apart. Seems pretty good down here. Oh, there we go. Starting to lift on that side. But don't get ahead of yourself. One little bit. It still seems, so I'm going to try running a razor knife in there. If I can find out where it's still binding up. And it looks to be that chrome piece on the side is inside there is kind of melted to the plastic. So a little more grinding to do over here. Okay. Voila. Kind of looks like shit. Oops, excuse me. Crap, YouTube. But again, when you clean this up, get all your rough edges off. Again, in your housing, none of that will be seen. They'll all be back behind the housing. Again, with the 20, 21, 22, 23 with large HD tow mirrors. Fast Headlights is the only ones that actually make a true conversion for this. The only other way is to use LED strips. I think I paid $120 for the kit. So now we want to pop this little section of chrome up. And last time I can tell you, you can see how maybe some of it is melted here. And that's how it was on the last one I did. So I went real careful and just re-cutting that a little bit with the Dremel. But again, what I'll try first is just seeing if I can get a little bit of it to lift. This one's going to be a little more complicated than the last one. So I'm going to trim this over here. Very patient. Okay, I'm going to try scoring with a knife. You can see we started to get it to lift out. I'm gonna do a little more trimming. There's a natural line right here that has got melted from the Dremel. It should look more like this line, and you can see that it's melted with the Dremel blade. I'll pause the camera and I'll be right back. Okay, a little more trimming just to remove some of that melted plastic there. And again, just be patient. Something I don't have a lot of. Sorry for my bad angles. Wish I had somebody to help me film this. Okay, there we go. That's out. We'll clean that up with glass cleaner and of course some rubbing alcohol around the edge to make sure that our silicone gets a good seal. So on this piece here, all you do is push forward here in the back, raising it up over that. Out that comes. This is what we're after. I noticed on the video that they pried this right out. There is, excuse me for my light, there is a little tab right here holding the chip in that needs to be pushed back. But as I pried on my first one, I could not get it to come undone. I noticed that around this clip area, there seems to be some glue. So I took a pick and just scraped around it. And again, getting this chip out took a little effort. Another thing I did is I'm keeping the chrome. This piece you don't take out, and I didn't want to damage it in any way. So just covered it up with some paint spray. A paper towel, just because I don't want the tape residue on my light. Again, being careful. So we're now trying to pop this out. There are two little holes here that you can kind of pry against in the chip. Let me show you the old one. So there are two little holes you can insert a pick or a really small screwdriver and try to just lift up slightly on both ends. Well, that pin is right here at the top, kind of moving that out of the way. Once you get it up a little bit and that pin slips behind the chip, you don't have to worry about the pin anymore. Okay, YouTube, that actually was a lot worse than the first one I did. It did not want to come out. I eventually got it out. Talking about patience, I even had to walk away, use the bathroom, get a drink, clear my head, and come back, because it can be super frustrating. But there she is. That's what we're after. So now I am going to clean everything up. Sometimes just with a razor knife, sanding disc on a Dremel. Just get all these rough edges kind of smooth so that everything seats back together perfectly. So I'm gonna do that real fast. Don't think you need a video on that. You can clean it up as much as you want, as nice as you want. Again, it won't be seen. It will be hid behind the housing. I do want to go over some other things I did in my truck. I'm also going to be adding rock lights underneath, all white. I have done a full LED conversion. I have switchback lights in the front, LEDs in the rear. I did not buy the last fit LED lights that everybody uses. I installed resistors, which is a little more work. It's cheaper. They worked great for me. They look great. It's completely up to you. So I'm gonna clean this up and we'll go over installing the new LED chip and gluing it back together. Okay, so now we're gonna install the new switchback plate. Now these only go in one way, so you cannot get them backwards. Since I have a work truck edition, I do not have what I believe is the spotlight or work light. If you do have that, these two wires, there will be two wires or two prongs here that you would have took off when you took this one off. There would have been two leads going there. You will need to either solder them or shrink wrap them. I do know from some other guys that butt connectors could work, but the fact that there's not a lot of space down here when that chrome plate goes back on, so soldering or shrink wrap is the best. I forgot my dikes, so I'll be right back. Okay, since I don't have the work light on my truck, I'm not going to cut these off completely. On the last one, I just trimmed them back a little bit. They do give you quite the lead so that you have enough to solder. And again, this takes patience. You want to line up all 4 pins and just proceed to push carefully. Also, make sure that those line back up in those 2 grooves and are over the little clip. Something seems to be holding me up a little bit. Sure if there's a little crud in there. Okay, I'm going to pause for a minute, pull this back out and see what possibly is holding me up, because it does not want to push down in there. And again, I don't want to break anything. So I'm going to clean out these grooves on both sides and try again. Okay, took my little shop vac and sucked out all the little debris down in there. I got caught, scraped those grooves out on both sides. And she is now in all the way. So now what I'm gonna do is take some glass cleaner and a rag, clean all the inside of this and my chrome here, because once you shut this, any fingerprints or anything are gonna be there forever, unless you want to try to get it back open again. So take a minute, I'll clean all these parts, and then we will set it with our silicone and let it sit overnight. Okay, got our pieces clean. This snapped back in. Again, this just goes down into there. Oh, you know what? I made a grave mistake. This needs to go on before this. Okay, pop that back off. This slips in the bottom here, and then you will see 2 little holes that were on that LED chip. Those slide down into and pop in like that. Then we'll get this piece snapped back in. Clean it up just a tad. Get my fingerprints off there. Okay, one thing I like to do, it's still a little bit too dirty. A little smudge over here. Okay, one thing I like to do is just to take your lens, just kind of set it on there and see how it's gonna sit. Make sure everything's gonna sit correct. You can see it will need clamped when you put your silicone on for 24 hours. Something doesn't seem to be sitting correctly, and that's why I always like to check. And it looks like, okay, hang on. There we go. There's one little nibbin right there on that plastic piece that sits out. Still seems to be rocking a little bit. Alright, well this is why we double check before I put the silicone on. I'm going to pause for a minute and see what's holding this out. Okay, well after about 10 minutes of staring at it and trying to figure out what the heck was going on, this itty bitty, oh, there's even a piece of paper towel on it, nibbing right here. Got like a little hangnail on it. So I put 2 pieces of tape on each side to protect the plastic and just tap those burrs off with my Dremel. Now we're gonna silicone it overnight. Like I said, I prefer before Permatex. You don't want to go too heavy because it will squeeze inside. Also, some people prefer to paint the lens. They fill this in with tape and then they paint black or to paint the chrome black. I don't prefer to do that. After it sits up for about 6 hours, I'll tape it down to clamp it. And after I take the tape off, I then go around the outside again, around the outer edges, just to add more silicone and make sure that no moisture or water is getting in. That's the last thing you want. So you can add plenty of silicone on the outside and the backside edge. It's never going to be seen. Like I said, it's hidden by the housing. So, but this first initial bead, you don't want to go too big. And then after it sets up for about 6 hours, I said you can take the tape off and then look around and see any voids. I'd add extra even if you don't see any voids, just to make sure. Also, be careful when you have silicone on your hands, you don't get it on your lens. Don't worry about missing any spots. You can come fill them back in later. Set your lens down. Make sure your hands are clean. Make sure it sits. And I'm going to do a little bit now because I can see some spots on this outer edge. So this is my first time at a DIY video for YouTube. I'm not into a bunch of comments of saying I should have did this, I should have done that. I'm just trying to give some people an option. I looked around, like I said, the only option I saw was the toaster oven option, and Fastheadlights, they in their instructions, they want you to use a Dremel. But again, like I said, in their video and in their instructions, nowhere do they show you how to use that Dremel to cut this light open. It's probably to save their butts for the guys that screw up and then want to blame them, saying you told me to use a Dremel to cut my light open and now I want you to replace it because I effed up. Well, like they said in their instructions, if you're capable of getting the light, the mirror taken apart, you should be capable of cutting the light open. It does look tedious. It's not for the faint at heart. So I'm gonna clamp with some electrical tape. just got silicone on my left hand. Don't want to get it on the lens. Clean it off real quick. One more set of tape around it. Okay, that'll be it for this video. We'll let this sit for about 6 hours. Then I'm going to take the tape off, re-silicone again all around the outside, and then I'm going to let it sit for 24 hours and then install it. I will make another video in the meantime showing you how to wire in the resistor they gave you. I like, again, to use a shrink wrap, but this is pretty self-explanatory, but I'll show you where I hooked it and mounted it, and go from there. Okay, YouTube, have a good one. Bye.